Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the R&D Podcast. I am your host, Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about girl moms versus being a boy mom. What to expect, right?
What to expect with either or. So, what are your thoughts being a boy mom?
Okay, so I'm going to get into, where should I start? Okay, first and foremost, I never have had daughters. I've been a daughter, obviously.
Yes.
But I've never had daughters, so I can tell you from my experience with the boys is, man, do they love their moms.
Aw, that's
From
really
the
sweet.
very, very, very beginning, there is this very nurturing, like, affectionate, like, oh, mom, and there's almost like this really interesting acknowledgement that, like, mom is different, you know, mom's a girl, and like girls like this. So whenever my boys, no matter how little they were, if they saw something pink or sparkly, they'd be like, mommy,
that's
here.
for mom.
Like, they would know, like the flowers, mommy, here. Like, and so I feel like there was like a meme, and I wish I would have saved it, but
yeah,
it says something when, if God sends you boys or sends you a son, it's because he knows how much love you've lacked in your life, or you that you need in your life that nobody could fill.
And if you had girls, you were immature.
And if you have girls, that maybe there's lessons to learn or something like that. I think my sons have, and we'll get into it, have taught me a whole lot of hard things too about myself.
Lessons.
But it has been a really loving thing. I could say it's my first experience at like genuine, like true love, like what's it called, like unconditional love.
Unconditional love. Yeah, I definitely think, you know, taking it to the boy mom versus girl mom, I think that, you know, before I would hear stories like, you know, like girls run more risks than boys, and I would always hear that, right? Because, you know, girls, you have the possibility that someone could do something to them versus a boy. He's a little boy, he can protect himself, he could this, that. And, you know, we're coming to an era, or we're coming to a realization that that's not true. Yeah. Because I do believe that little boys, just like little girls, run the same types of risks. Yeah. Maybe differently, but pretty much the same. Like, I'll tell you, me growing up, my parents were way more strict with me than they were with my brother. You know, my brother's the boy, he can go do whatever he wants. My mother would, you know, serve him his plate. Oh, mijo, don't get up. Oh, mijo this. Oh, mijo that. Versus me, I had to get up and help with the dishes, help set up, help
I wonder if that's
cook,
cultural.
It could be cultural, but I do believe that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen lately. Like, I don't know if my algorithm's just kind of showing me these things. Yeah. But I will say that what I've noticed is, you know, there's like all these like funny memes and these funny, like, you know, comedy skits where it's like, you know, when your mijo shows up and it's like the mom's like catering to the mijo, and it's like, mijo, no, you know, sit down, and, you know, she's wiping his mouth and it's like, mom, I'm hungry. It's like, well, then go make yourself something to eat. Like, you know, like no one's going to serve you. So I definitely think that there is the differences. I've seen
bias.
Yeah, most definitely. I've seen it growing up. I've seen it in even other families where the boys are always, or even like, for instance, you date a guy that, you know, their mom is in the picture. I mean, the mom is watching you like, how are you treating my son? Oh, yeah. Because the way I treat him, I expect whoever comes into the picture treats him better. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it should be better, but it's not that it's better, it's different. Let's jump ahead, because we were going to talk about little kid stuff, but I'm going to go right to the adult stuff.
Okay.
Being the parent of adult sons, okay? Yeah. When they're dating and they're entering into relationships, I can tell you that one of the challenges is this. We as women give our all to our children in many degrees, and we want to raise our sons, most of us who are boy moms, to be, whether they're gentlemen, whether they're good providers, whether they're respectful to women. There's all these things, right, that we try. Women come into their lives, and women don't respect themselves. Women are like slapping them or causing fights, and like, no, and they're dramatic. And they're not always equipped for that, right? If they're like, well, my mom taught me to be respectful and not to do that, and not to lay hands on them, and not to, but she's just out here wilding out and stuff like that. And sometimes when you raise them to be one way, they're attracted to the opposite. We're all like that, right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. As a mom, the hard reality that we have to accept, and I'm contending with this reality, this idea, is that we truly give our sons away. And so I know the marriage tradition is the father walks his daughter down the aisle. That daughter doesn't actually ever leave her parents. She loves her dad. She's daddy's girl. She's going to always be daddy's girl. She's going to call her mom every day. She doesn't actually leave like in that degree like the boy does. The boy, if he does what she does and calls his mom every day or goes out of his way to drop something off or make something convenient for her or talk to her in a special way or whatever, like the daughter does with the mom, now he's a mama's boy. And so there's a weird stigma around it. So the mom of a son has to truly be ready to let go of him because he's going to be ridiculed if she continues to be a loving mother like the girl mom will probably be in her life through all her ups and downs. I can tell you that it's a sad realization. Do I think that there's moms out there overstepping their bounds? 1,000%. Cut the crap because it is what it is. I personally love my son so much. I would never, though, because of that love, want to insert myself in a way in his marriage that it would cause a problem for them. My love for him is bigger than what I need from him.
Yeah, I definitely think that, as it is, mother-in-laws already have a negative stigma, in my opinion, right? As it is. And it's very seldomly will you hear someone say, I love my mother-in-law. Very seldomly. And so I think that there is this competitive nature that a mother has for then the woman that's coming into this person's life, which is your son. And it's this feeling of like, I'm losing instead of I'm gaining. It's really strange. It's what I've seen time and time again. And I've seen this firsthand, and I've seen it, even third degree, second degree, like where people are just like, they hate their mother-in-laws because at the end of the day, it's like, she wants me to be like this because guess what? She expects nothing less because this is the way I treated my son and this is what I want. And so I think that,
so for me being a boy mom, right? Because that's, I think for me being a boy mom, that is definitely an issue with the mother. You're not wrong. If you're a woman watching this and your husband is a mama's boy and the mom is, a monster-in-law, and you have a monster-in-law, right? You first and foremost ask yourself, is she really a monster-in-law? Or is she, look at how you are with your mom. If he's doing that with her, then zip it as a wife, unless you're prepared to cut it all the way back with your own mom. So you can't expect something from your partner that you yourself aren't willing to do, right?
I mean, it just there's scenarios to that. If your mother-in-law comes in and the house is a little bit in disarray, it's like, oh, ¿cuándo fue la última vez que
that's what I'm saying. It's cultural.
You know what I'm saying?
So culturally, it's tough. I don't even want to get into the Latino aspect of it.
But I definitely think even if it's not Latina, you could be any race. I mean, I've always heard it since forever. It's like that's why they have these crazy jokes of the in-laws, right?
Yeah.
They don't make these jokes for no reason. It's like, because sometimes I do think that the moms stay territorial, and I'm not saying all moms, I'm saying most moms. And so at the end of the day, you know what, if he chose his life partner, then you shouldn't be meddling in that. You'd hope that he'd make a good decision. If he likes to be, respectfully in Spanish they call it mandilon, which is the guy that sweeps, mops and makes the food. If he decides that's what he wants to do and that works in their environment, in their dynamic, in their life, you shouldn't be the one to meddle and be like, why don't you serve my meal?
But I think for this topic with what it's like to be a parent, to the boy moms, I think that's the thing that boy moms they're going to have to prepare for that.
I agree.
That he's going to be judged by his wife, and that she's not going to give up her siblings and her parent. The way she expects him to give up his siblings and his parents. And I think that's a tough thing. I think that when he enters into the age of getting into relationships and you think that, okay, he's college age and he might be actually thinking in terms of looking for a wife, I think you have these conversations with your son as a mother to say, listen, I want you to flourish as a husband. I want you to be a great husband. I want you to be a great provider. I want you to be a solid father. All these things, right, that you want for him. But also to identify the potential of a woman who's trying to create separating him from his family, complaining about his family all the time and stuff like that, because then he's going to be stuck in the middle, and it's a lifelong battle that's never going to end. So I would just say, if you're a boy mom, have the conversations and be prepared to accept that he's going to choose someone that you wouldn't have chosen for him. It doesn't mean you can't get along with her. It just means he may very well, he's a guy. He's going to choose her because of her boobs. He might choose her because whatever. You know what I mean? You raise him to choose a great girl or whatever, but then he just went with the visuals and mom, she's hot. Okay. So you have to understand that the choice is not yours.
No, it's not.
The choice is his. And even though you're wise enough to go, this is bad news. She's bad news bearer all day. Like, this woman's she's going to be the worst.
Destroy him.
You can say, son, you already know I see some red flags, but that's up to you. Like, it's up to you. If you're going to see red flags and still go, as a woman, you guys, as a mom, you already got to live your life. You got to make your choices, and they have to make their choices for better or for worse. All you can do is try to, for the sake of the love you have for your son, to not be part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important also just to have an open door policy, as I'd like to say. You know, if you ever need me, I'm going to be there without having to be meddly and without having to give so much of your opinion. Because you have to remember, oftentimes when people come to you for advice, whether that's boy or girl or whoever it is, you know, you can give them your advice, or you can give them the advice, and you could say, leave them, they're no good for you, they're not this, they're not that. Next thing you know, they're holding hands, and now you feel some type of way towards the person because now they told you, like, maybe something that was deep, dark secret that you probably can't unhear, and now you feel some type of way towards that person. But guess what?
That's
now
actually
your son is now cool with the wife.
So that's actually your part. So if you're a woman who's married to a guy that your mother-in-law doesn't like you, we said this last season, you need to check him in the sense of like, well, what are you telling your mother? Because absolutely that will happen. Yeah. That's not the condition of being a boy mom or a girl mom. That's the condition of a spouse who's running to their parents with every little thing that goes wrong and choosing their parents for advice instead of saying, I'm going to bring my mom, dad, I'm coming over with my husband because we want you two as a couple to counsel us. If you do that, like I got to do that, for example, with my grandparents, because they opened that door. If you guys ever hit a wall, my grandpa told when I got married really young, if you ever get stuck, come together, and let's sit down together, and we'll have a conversation. So if you as a woman are running to your mom and your sister and talking crap to get advice, you're guilty. You're actually part of the problem. Yep. And so instead say, hey, mom and dad, I know you guys are freaking crazy, because most of us have crazy parents.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know what? I want to invite my husband, and I want to sit with you guys because I love your advice. Like, mom, I think you're so wise. I would love to have this conversation, like, with my husband. If you genuinely want to fix whatever the issue is. Right. But I think as a boy mom, we have to contend with the reality of, yes, the father walks the woman down the aisle, and that doesn't really get to happen with us as moms, with our sons.
The mom does walk the son down the aisle.
It depends on what culture. Yeah. It does depend.
I mean,
on
and it
culture.
Depends on each person, I guess.
Yeah, because normally the groom comes out from the back with his groomsmen. Yeah. So you have to understand that, like, there is going to be this letting go to a degree. Yeah. Because society is not going to accept him to still kind of run back to you. And you want him to feel strong enough to stand on 2 feet. And no, it's none of your business of whether or not she cooks, she cleans. Like, those are all things he needed to sort out when he was dating her. So if he chooses someone that doesn't know how to cook, doesn't know how to clean, doesn't know how to really, whatever the things are, that you think is important, that's not your problem. And then once the grandkids come, you have to remember this as well, because this is something I'm getting prepared mentally and spiritually for. Okay, I'm preparing for this. Is that the husband's mom has almost like less rights to the baby. And so I am such a children lover. Like, I'm such a children lover. Like, I always think, oh, when I have my grandkids and stuff, and then there's a reality that sets in of like, no, I don't have a daughter who's like that her children are extensions of me. No, it's in the girl's body. It's between her mom, her siblings. And that's, I don't want to say it's more her child. I don't want to say that, but like it almost is in many ways.
Realistically speaking, I always say, we care for a child before anyone in the world sees it. Yes. I mean, you have this caring for a child you haven't even met. Yes. And you're having to, make sure that you're eating correctly, you're doing the right things, you're not drinking, you're not doing the things that you would normally do. And I think that there's that aspect, like you're just saying. And so, respectfully, that's what happens for us as women.
So being a boy mom comes with a lot of loss. And it's a lot of accepting that our place, we get dethroned, and there's a lot of that unless he marries a very loving, mature woman who's like, oh no,
Okay.
like your mom, have you called your mom? Like you should go check on your mom. Like we should invite your mom over. Like, you know, unless she's like that,
That's not gonna happen.
and that's that's going to be rare.
Very rare.
Doesn't matter how nice you are. You could be so nice and she's like, oh God, your mom's stopping by again with gifts for the baby. Like you don't know what temperament this woman's going to have. And so you have to be prepared. And I'm saying that from being a boy mom who's entering that era of like not knowing what my place is going to be when I've been such a nurturer. And so even in the grandma role, you got to be prepared with like she grew that baby in her body, and if she's close to her mom and her family, it almost becomes like more their baby.
Yeah.
And you got to prepare for that. So and if you're a woman, by the way, who's literally horrendous to your husband and you give him so much shit because he's so close to his mom, please pray on it and please try your best to get over that, because you are asking this man to literally give up everything he's ever known and only go to you for that, and when you yourself aren't doing that. You yourself haven't cut off the world and just done that. So I would just urge any woman who's like, oh my God, like he's so cool with his mom, but like with me he's just like, oh, with the attitude. Or, you know, my mother-in-law has an attitude. That's a different topic. Like, I think conflicts between daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws, like, that's a different episode that we've talked about of, like, how to handle it.
Yeah.
Like, take control of it. Like, nip it in the bud. Do all the things.
Yeah.
But I think when you're looking at your husband and you're judging him because he wants to go to his mom's house because he loves her, you know, steak instead or whatever, like, you know, or he turns to her and he's like, Mom, I don't know what to do with this and that. Like, whatever you're doing with your family, like, you should expect nothing less for him to be able to do with his.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, as far as the girl mom versus boy mom, I mean, there's those aspects. You know, girls, you know, they also have their little things. You know, sometimes, you know, as a girl mom, you're going to hear the injustices of what's happened, of things that take place, and you have to know how to, you know,
like separate.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and say, you know what, honey, you know, this is what you need to do. And it depends on how the man that she marries, how he was raised, and then, you know, his customary background, and then you having to come from a place of giving advice to say, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, hold on tight, or how do you, you know, if this is your person, it's your little person, your little human, like, how do you guide them to say, honey, you know what, don't be so hard, or don't do this, or don't do that, because oftentimes people only tell you their side of the story. So I always say there's 3 sides to every story, right? So you're only getting the one version of it. So,
or you probably, you know, for you, because I know your daughters, right?
Yeah.
Like raising them to be smart, independent, like happy, you know, striving for their dreams and their goals, and like and feminine, and taking care of their hair, nails, and all these kinds of things, right? I've seen you do it.
Right.
And then you are doing all of this just for them to potentially end up with
someone.
a Dusty who just is like, take a seat, be quiet, make the food, just take care of the baby, like mind your business. I'm going to go work. I'm going to go make all the money. You just sit, you know what I mean? So I love this video that I saw with an Asian man, and he was giving his daughter away in the ceremony, and he looked at the groom and he said to her, when you're tired of her, please don't hurt her, just bring her back to me. And to me, it was the most heartwarming thing ever, because we're preparing to give up our children to someone that, like you said, we don't know how they were raised. Like, we don't know what.
And oftentimes, you know, depending on the way that they were raised, you know, their mother might excuse their bad behavior, because it's like, well, that's, you know, that's just how he is. He just gets mad and he gets angry. You know, I know someone particularly that would call his son an Alka-Seltzer because he would blow up and then all of a sudden he'd forget about it. And it's like, oftentimes people don't just blow up and forget about it. Like, if you made a mess and you blew things up, believe me, like, people aren't just going to get over it. No. So I think it's really being respectful.
And especially in the Latin culture, by the way, you're going to hear a lot of people saying now that they don't want to be with Latin men because the whole machista thing and that whole thing. Because the entire family is like, well, that's just the way he is.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do?
Deal with it.
What did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't just do that for no reason. And it's like, and now they're excusing the bad behavior. So now it's like, now you feel like you did something wrong. And it's like, no, like, he should know how to manage his temperament. Like, why do I have to be the one, right? But I think it's important that, you know, when it comes to either or boy or girl mom or whatever you're going through, it's staying neutral and just saying, you know what, communicate, stay neutral, and give your best type of advice, that you can give without being super biased to saying, you know, I never liked that mother effer, as a matter of fact, or you know what, she always was a biatch, like I never liked her, because at the end of the day, remember, you know, they're gonna go and be all happy dappy, and then you're gonna be the one that looks bad because you're talking smack. So I think if you can just come from a place of being neutral, I think that you can nip most things in the butt if you could just, you know, come from a place of neutrality instead of being upset.
And the touchstone to that of how to do that, because especially if you're a boy mom, it's like, you know, because there's women are doing so many.
Grab the chongo, I'm gonna grab her, I'm gonna drag that girl.
Women are doing like the most, and it's so hard because men do get their hearts broken and stuff like that. And so, but I will compare it to this, moms. Okay, if you have a son that he plays sports, okay, like mine played football, and one of them did water polo and basketball. But let's just say, when you like watching the one play football, tackle football from little, okay, I watched him get hit in the head. I watched him get tossed in the air. I watched him get so dirty. I watched him go down and roll on the field, and on all different ages, they're like not sure what's going to happen. Did he break something?
Yeah.
I watched him break a collarbone, like all these things. Never once did I rush the field. Okay? Never once did I rush the field.
I think I would.
Okay? Because you have to watch, it has to play out. The coaches go look at him. They go, okay, how are we looking? Is it a thumbs up? Oh, it's a thumbs up. Okay, he's getting up. He's getting up. And is he going to bench or is he going to stay in the game? Moms, stop rushing the field. Yeah. Going into the marriage and be like, you know, you should be da-da-da, or he used to never have to do, you know, that's rushing the field. So if you are a good mom, your son's probably in sports, just equate it to that because you have to hold back, like just let it play out because there's going to be a lot of difficult things he's going to encounter. He's going to learn about himself, or she has to learn. They have to learn about each other, and that's none of your business.
Like, you got to stay neutral and stay in your lane.
But when you're raising boys, I know that culturally, my father-in-law had said, oh yeah, with the boys, because they were handsome guys, he said that he would just tell the people in Mexico, like, well, hide your chickens because my roosters are loose. Like, that's your problem. And so that was his stance. And I'm like, that's how you guys were raised? Like, no wonder, you know? Yeah. So culturally,
have you seen what roosters do, by the way?
I don't even, no. I have not. And no, Delia, we're not. I'm like in the car and I'm not going that way. I'm like, you can tell me after we stop hitting freaking record. So I will just tell you, like, no. So I'm just like, however he said it in Spanish, and I'm probably just destroying it, but something about my roosters are out, and so hide your chickens.
Roosters just go roll.
I don't know. Okay, right. No. So listen. So what I'm saying is, it is. Try to not have a double standard.
Oh my gosh.
Try to understand you're raising men, not little boys.
Not little boys.
Don't talk to them like little boys. You can love them and all these things, but prepare them to
become men and women too. By the way, you got to prepare the little girls to become women, to be respectful, to take care of what they need to take care of. And that's not to say, well, that's your job. It's no one's specific job, but I think it's good to raise them with morals, values, and I think it's important for them to be nurturing and caring and loving and all the things. And so I don't think that either or, like if a man's more loving, nurturing, and caring, and he actually wants to cook for his family, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that if it's the other way around, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As long as both parties are okay with it, you need to stay on the sidelines and let them live their life. You know? And
I think that being able to emphasize the importance of family, you know, it takes a village. It does take a village. I think having daughters to be able to say, hey, listen, do your best to understand where his mom is coming from, you know?
For sure.
Take this video if you have a daughter that's engaged, you know, and play it for her to say, hey, just watch it. Like, because society and movies and everything say, you know, mother-in-laws are monster-in-laws, I think that being able to watch this episode or listen to this episode and to get the perspective from a boy mom to say, hey, listen, we're going through it. We're going through because we're losing, and in every way, shape, or form. And I know that they say you're not losing a son, you're gaining a daughter. Then you got pastors in mega churches saying, don't accept that. Don't let any in-law say, oh, you're like our daughter, you're like our son, because that means that they're going to treat you like a child. They're not going to have boundaries. So the narratives are so crisscrossed, you guys, and there's so many different things going around. I would just say, teach your daughters to not separate him from his family. And granted, he's hers, you know. And if you're a mom, you're giving him away too. If you're,
I agree.
You know, you're giving your daughter away. Like they belong to each other now.
Yeah.
But it takes a village. It takes a village of love. It takes a village of understanding. And so I think the more that you can come into understanding, the better it is for everybody. For everybody.
I agree. I like it. And then, is that all we got?
I think that's it. And we'll talk about the roosters after.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.